Is it weird that I now love to sit with difficult emotions? Now, I will be open and admit I don't always love it in the moment, but in my journey and in my journey of finding greater presence, including in the death of my daughter, a time where, as I've shared in previous episodes of this podcast, Death on the Daily, that my call to presence to be there for my daughter actually was her greatest gift to me, because I realized a depth of resilience, a depth of presence that I could access if I call myself there in life's most raw, visceral, and painful moments. And I've really been reflecting lately on the beauty when we can just sit and be with that which is painful. When we can call ourselves into presence, even if it's just for a few seconds, to touch that pain, to see, okay, I see you, I feel you, I'm still here. I'm still moving through, and I'm moving through this. And I think this is really important because there's a lot within our society and culture that effectively inspires us to bypass the pain, to do anything to pop a pill or to use whether it's spiritual bypassing or other methods of bypassing to just avoid going there. And we also obviously live in a culture that we've got so many tools at our fingertips of numbing and of avoidance, whether that's social media. I love scrolling on social media when I'm trying to avoid being with that which is really, really difficult. So in the spirit of our pathway through our grief, not around, not avoiding it, not running backwards in the other direction, I thought, let's talk about it today. Let's talk about what does that pathway through grief look like? How can we take it step by step with heaps of grace and compassion? And I thought I'd start with a beautiful quote from Rumi, who said that the cure for the pain is in the pain. So that for me really is the simplicity of this. And I didn't realize that until our daughter died, until in our daughter's final days, I made a promise to her that I was going to be fully present for her no matter what. And that was after witnessing in myself the fact that I disconnected when we had the scan at 21 weeks into pregnancy that told us that tragically she had a birth defect that meant there was no chance of her surviving outside of the womb. And if you haven't checked out that episode, I've recently done a couple of solo episodes that tells my whole story. So I'll link them in the show notes. Go and check them out if you feel inspired to. And you might be sat here thinking, that doesn't sound simple. And when I say simplicity, I don't mean that it's really simple to access. I just mean that actually that intentionality of presence can be a really simple lever for us to be able to find greater presence. For me, it was feeling my daughter kicking in my stomach and just connecting with her and saying, I'm going to be here for you no matter what. And I found since then that actually I can make that same intention to myself. I'm going to be here for myself no matter what, in obviously the most joyful moments as well as in the most difficult moments. And for me, when I think of life, I think of it like it's a curve, it's a wave. And we have those moments where we're riding the top of the wave, where things feel joyful, easeful, we're in our flow. And then we have those moments where we get knocked off of that wave. We hit the bottom of that curve. And what I've come to realize is that actually when I numb out to my pain, when I avoid it, when I go on social media or anywhere else to distract myself from being with it, actually what that does is that lowers my baseline on all of life. If I'm not willing to go there and really feel the depths of my pain, then I'm not going to feel the highest heights of the joys and of the full force of my love and all of that. Because actually in numbing, that numbing effect in my experience goes out more broadly across much more areas of my life. So one of the gifts that I received from my darling daughter, and don't get me wrong, I would do anything to, and I would give that gift back to have her here with me now. But one of the gifts that I have received in journeying with her and going through her death and still and for the rest of my life holding my grief for her, I've realized that actually in me feeling the full force of my grief, it's also enabled me to feel the full force of my love. It's enabled me to feel actually even in that week of her death and in the next few weeks towards her woodland burial, it also enabled me to really feel the big belly laughs with my husband. It enabled me to connect into beauty and meaning and lessons and insights for me to take into my forwards path, for me to become a better person through how I could grow through my grief. So in this moment, I just invite a brief pause and we can just put our hand to our heart. And if you'd like to do so, you might like to close down your eyes. And I just want to invite just a few deep breaths in and just a moment of reflection to connect into what would it feel like if, not just in this moment, but in any moment in our life, we could come back home into our body. And in doing so, we could come into greater presence with what is and a greater connection to insights and wisdom to help to light our forwards path through it. And so as you've got your hand to your heart, I just invite you just to connect in, see what's sitting in your body. Just meet yourself exactly where you are. So just taking another deep breath, if that's comfortable for you to do so. All of these are an invitation. And then we can come back into the space together. And in that exercise, you might just like me, actually, as I connected into my body, I felt where I was feeling overwhelmed. I've had a very busy week. And also I felt where I needed to give myself more care. So one of the most powerful things that I think we can access when we are present with ourselves is those messages of what love, what care, what support, what compassion, what grace, what anything else do we need to give to ourselves in this moment. That really is the power of deepening our connection to self, deepening our connection to our body. And I think it can feel like those difficult emotions are here to break us, but they're not. They're here to tell us something, to bring wisdom forth for us to then, whether it's take action on, to seek out support, to seek out conversation. For me, actually, when I connected into my body earlier this year, I had a period of grief that was disturbing my sleep. I had PTSD as well. So that often does come back through in these times. And in me just connecting into my body, and I gave myself all of the care, and I thought, actually, do you know what? I'm still feeling this. It still feels really difficult. And for me, that was a sign. Okay, I need to go and connect with a new therapist. I need to go and seek someone out who can support me here. So equally within this path, it's about saying, I don't need to journey alone. I am on this journey with all of the other humans around me. And sometimes that's seeking out, well, a lot of times it's seeking out our friends and our family who can hold us in whatever's coming up. But equally at other times, it's going to be seeking out where there's professional help to really support us. So now I thought, let's flow into some practices of presence that you could use when you're feeling your grief, or when you're just going through anything that feels really difficult, really painful, that's bringing up a lot. And I want to start with a word of compassion, because actually there are times when our body will go into shock, will dissociate, and our body is doing its very best to try and protect us. And sometimes that is the very best thing that we can do for ourselves. So I wanted to start these by saying this is not an intention to always find presence in life or to beat ourselves up about those times when we don't find presence. Just meet yourself exactly where you are and know that even just taking one breath of presence or connecting in after 2 weeks where you felt really disconnected, really discombobulated, and said, actually, do you know what? I've just realized I felt really disconnected for the last couple of weeks. How can I be more present now? And I also wanted to share that this practice of presence doesn't mean that we have to find a liking of the pain or a love of the pain. I know I mentioned at the start of the episode, I'm really loving sitting with the pain. I'm loving it because of the growth, but that doesn't mean in the moment that I'm going, oh, this feels wonderful. But what this means is really honoring you. It's honoring you and all parts of you, everything that's coming up. Because if we only are willing to connect to the positive, then actually we're not experiencing the wholeness and the fullness of this human existence. So in the first practice of presence, it's coming back home to you. And this is coming back home into yourself, into your body, if that feels like it's right and it's comfortable for you to do so. And I say that because there have been times where I felt my PTSD coursing through my body, and actually in closing my eyes and connecting to it, that's not right for me in that moment. So I want to be really trauma aware in this to say there might be some times where that doesn't feel right. So take these practices as and when they feel right, and leave them otherwise if they don't feel right for you. But in this practice, what we can do is just come back into our body by rooting into some anchors. And the anchors might be connecting into your breath. Just taking some deep breaths as you allow yourself to connect into your breath as it flows in through your nostrils, all the way down through your lungs, and you feel your stomach expanding out. Just connecting into your breath and using that to become an anchor back into your body and back into the present moment. Another way that you can anchor into the present moment is just by putting one hand to your heart, maybe a hand to your belly, and you can just close down your eyes or just soften your gaze and just feel that warmth of your hand wherever it is on your body. Feel that warmth, feel that care, feel that connection. And through that point of connection, bring yourself back into where you are now, away from any thoughts that are racing. So just doing this now as we speak. And even just in that, doing it for just 1 or 2 breaths, as I was just sharing this exercise, I just felt that energy really, really grounding down. And other anchor points can be, and you can do this now with me if you want to, is feeling your feet on the earth, connecting into the soles of your feet, connecting into that connection, connecting in perhaps to the fact that earth is holding you. You also might like to connect into, if you are in a space that you feel really safe and supported in, for example, a cozy little nook in your home, like I'm sat in now. This is a nook in the room that is my office. And I love sitting on this chair and sitting in this corner with a book. So if I come here, it feels immediately grounding. So actually I can just curl myself up on this seat and just feel the connection of my body on the seat. See how the seat is holding me, really, really feel that connection. So these are all simple practices that can help you to come home to you. And actually through this channel, I'm going to be sharing more and more meditations that are guided by me that you can come to anytime. I'm going to be doing ones that are literally 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe even longer. And so next up in practice of presence, and these are all ones that I've done myself, that I know work from the perspective of my own experience, but equally with the invitation for you to go out there and understand what is your toolkit that is going to help you to be present, to resource yourself in those times when actually it feels really, really difficult and there's a lot that's going on. So the second one is breathing into it. And this is a practice that I've done in the most visceral moments of grief, because my mind can be really fighting against it. It particularly in those early days, particularly just after her diagnosis, as we were waiting for the days through to her death and her stillbirth of my daughter, I really, really rooted into just naming it and breathing into it. So what you could do is just inhale and say, I know this is grief. And then what I used to do on the exhale is just an acknowledgement. I'm here. I'm still here. It's okay. It feels like I'm about to evaporate and dissolve into a puddle on the floor or float off into a bunch of atoms in the sky. But I'm still here. I'm feeling it. And even just for this breath, I can acknowledge I feel this grief. I know this is grief. And I found that naming my grief can be really, really powerful because it shows that actually my grief is here. I am meeting it, but it's not all of me. And actually, in a lot of those moments when I could name my grief, I could also name other things, like I am also feeling loads of love. I'm also feeling actually some curious meaning, some joy in certain moments where actually I realized there's dualities in these experiences. And there was loads of moments as well where in naming my grief, I could also say, I'm feeling really effing proud of myself right now. I'm going to name that. So meeting yourself where you are doesn't just mean that we just meet the difficult. In that meeting ourselves where we are, we can see actually there is not just a duality, but often a multiplicity. There is so much stuff that is going on within me. And there is not just one thing that is dominating everything. And in meeting myself where I am, I can realize that actually I am complicated. Yes, things do hurt, but also this pain is impermanent. And at other points, I will be feeling joyful. I will be laughing. I will be whatever it might be. So third up, we've got walking with your grief in nature. I find nature to be just one of my most powerful safe spaces. I immediately ground, and I believe that that's because we are humans of nature. We can't get away from the fact that we are interconnected with nature. So in returning to nature, because we obviously live very nature adjacent in our nature depleted environments of cities, towns, wherever we live, and actually, in just stepping out into nature, I found it really powerful to be able to just be in nature, to feel held by Mother Nature as I could just feel into my body, connect into my body. And I'd always start with my feet on the earth, start with my feet on the earth, and then scan up to through my body. Where am I feeling my grief? And how can I honor it in this moment? And sometimes it would be walking with my husband or with a friend and having conversations and just opening up and sharing and being present with whatever came up. But in other times, it's just that internal dialogue. And sometimes if I'm on my own, then it's an internal dialogue that becomes an external dialogue. I will unashamedly walk through the woods near us or the fields and just talk to myself, just get it all out there, be able to really honor whatever's coming up and respond in compassion and care to myself. And fourth up, we've got stream of consciousness journaling, or any kind of journaling. I've shared this before in this podcast. Journaling is so therapeutic and really, really powerful. And science shows this. So my husband encouraged me when I was in the rawest of my grief to pick up my pen and keep writing. And I believe that's one of the most powerful things that we can each do, as well as encourage each other to do. Just getting it all out there on the page and being able to just be messy with it, but also to connect in and see, oh, okay, here's where I'm at. I'm being present with it through writing it down. And if that feels difficult to you, it might just be one word. It might be a drawing. It could be anything. And I think this one's really important because in our society, we can feel that grief doesn't have a place, that actually it's something that should be avoided, that there's a shame around it. Oh, I shouldn't be feeling, with all those shoulds of our society, I shouldn't be feeling this grief 2 years on. Absolutely. This is your grief journey, and grief, it's lifelong. Your truth deserves to be in existence, deserves to be written, deserves to be spoken about. And I can fully appreciate and empathize that. And I have this with many different friends and family where I don't speak about my grief because I know that I can't. But in me being able to write out my truth at any point, as well as obviously speaking my truth to others, those are really, really powerful ways of me just being able to also be really truthful with myself. Where am I at right now? Meeting myself exactly where I am today. And finally, we've got rituals to honor your grief. So these could be anything from lighting a candle, having a beautiful altar to honor your beloved departed. It could be a nature-based ritual. I love, love, love going out into the garden and just gathering some flowers into a beautiful little vase and bringing that in and lighting a candle next to it and just taking a moment to connect in, not just to the action of what I've done, but to how my grief is sitting in my body and what care I need to give to myself, what insights and wisdom and beauty that I can mine from just being there in that grief and whatever's coming up. And I believe what rituals can be really powerful for us to do is to find meaning in those times where our grief and everything that's coming up is just a big old swirly mess in our mind. For me, when I don't have the words and I can't flow them out onto a page or into conversation with someone, the act of going and gathering those flowers, the act of lighting a candle, the act of sitting with them and sitting with the memory of my daughter or at other times of my granddad really does help me to just root into self, to find meaning. Again, even if the words still don't flow after that, just the act of doing that ritual helps me to find meaning and oftentimes actually helps me to really organize even a little bit of that chaos that's going on in my mind and my body when I'm really, really feeling it. So rituals are powerful on a multitude of levels. So within this one, I would just say, just get creative, flow intuitively, don't overthink it. I actually believe with rituals, it's even more powerful when we come from our heart space versus Googling something and seeing what someone else has done. Obviously, please do take inspiration from other people, but know that there is that well of creativity, of playfulness, of whatever else you might like to bring into these beautiful and meaningful rituals. So that just about wraps up this episode of Death on the Daily. And I want to finish with, again, that acknowledgement that I know that this can be really, really difficult to navigate that forwards path through. But with every single step you take and breath by breath that you just move forwards in those tiny increments, this is something that I've really rooted into. Every single tiny step forwards through that which is painful, that which is so, so sad and so devastating, that actually those little steps, those little moments of breath connection, of just finding presence as and when you can, they really do add up, they multiply, and they make all of the difference in this lifetime and all of the gifts that we can receive through any and all of these moments in this very, very curious human existence. So I end each episode with my note to self. And today's note to self, I've written today, and this is a note to me basically on any day, but particularly those days where I really feel like I'm at the bottom of that wave, where I'm really, really feeling it, where I'm in the sludge and the mud trying to navigate through something difficult. So my note to self says that you don't need to rush past what's hard. There's wisdom to be found in the pain and the sadness, if only you let yourself listen. Never forget that tears, grief, sadness, anything difficult that's coming up doesn't mean you're failing. In fact, it means that you're feeling, and feeling truly what it is that makes us alive, that makes us whole as humans. So today and every day, I set my intention to let difficult times be a part of my story. They don't need to be avoided because they might just be where the beauty in life is held. So wherever you are in this journey, in the twists and turns of life, whatever is coming up for you, know that I'm here. Death on the Daily is always here. And step by step, breath by breath, we navigate that forwards path through whatever is, meeting ourselves exactly where we are. And if you've received something from today's episode, or if you perhaps know someone who could really, really benefit from this, I would love it if you could just hit share on this episode. And obviously, while you're there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, to hit that like button if you're watching it on YouTube. And know that wherever you are right now, in the here and the now, I am always here. Death on the Daily is always here. And I'm sending you so, so much love. All of my gratitude to you for joining me for another Dead Conversation. Death on the Daily is edited by David Strutt.
The music is Set Free by Katie Gray. And I am Tanya Wilkinson. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would be over the moon if you can rate, review, and subscribe. It really, really helps me to get the word out there. And if you want to say hi or to hear more about my work as a coach and death doula, including how I support my clients to navigate their death on the daily, then all of the ways that you can connect with me are in the show notes. I'll be back soon with some more dead conversations. And in the meantime, take good care of yourself and others.
There's a cold fire, there's a crossfire, and there's something inside, and we'll never make it.